Oleksandr Usyk doesn't fight for fame. He fights for something deeper. With the footwork of a dancer and the mind of a grandmaster, this Ukrainian warrior turned the sweet science into something almost spiritual. He's not loud, not flashy, but the moment the bell rings, something changes. He becomes cold, calculated, inevitable. He dismantles world champions with surgical precision, not with wild haymakers, but with angles, rhythm, and IQ that makes even the toughest men look lost. Undisputed at cruiserweight, unified at heavyweight, Olympic gold medalist, fluent in pain, fluent in brilliance. Usyk didn't just move up in weight, he moved up in greatness, breaking the mold of what a heavyweight should be. While others swing for knockouts, he orchestrates breakdowns, slowly, methodically, beautifully. And outside the ropes, he's stacking millions, collecting luxury cars, and living like a ghost king, quiet, powerful, and respected. From Mercedes G-Wagons to high-end estates, his wealth is real, but never loud. Usyk doesn't need to boast. So before we break down the rise, reign, and relentless genius of Oleksandr Usyk, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Because this isn't just the story of a champion, it's the quiet storm every heavyweight should fear. Born on a cold January day in 1987, Usyk's roots stretched deep into the soil of northern Ukraine. His mother, a construction worker from Chernihiv, and his father, a battle-hardened military man from Sumy who'd survived the hellfire of Afghanistan, met in Crimea and built a life defined by grit and sacrifice. That same grit coursed through their firstborn son, long before the world would know his name. As a child, Usyk didn't dream of boxing rings or championship belts. He chased a football across the dusty fields of Simferopol, showing enough promise to earn a place in SC Tavriya's Olympic reserve program. But something changed in 2002. At just 15, he traded the football for boxing gloves, and from that moment on, the rhythm of his life began to echo with the sounds of fist against leather, the roars of crowds, and the heartbeat of destiny. He wasn't just good, he was extraordinary. Trained in discipline and endurance at the Lviv State University of Physical Culture, Usyk carved his way through the amateur ranks like a sculptor chiseling his masterpiece. He racked up 335 wins and only 15 losses, earning gold at the 2011 World Championships and 2012 Olympics. But his ambitions didn't stop at amateur glory. Turning pro in 2013, Usyk exploded onto the scene. By 2016, he held his first world title. 2 years later, in only his 15th fight, he conquered the entire cruiserweight division, becoming the first Ukrainian in history to hold all 4 major belts. He wasn't just a champion, he was undisputed. And when he lifted the Muhammad Ali Trophy and walked away with the ring and lineal titles, it was clear this was a man born to dominate. But Usyk wasn't done. He set his sights on the land of giants, the heavyweight division. Critics doubted him. They said he was too small, too technical, too different. But in 2021, he silenced every voice when he dismantled Anthony Joshua, claiming the WBA, IBF, and WBO titles in one of the most tactical, poetic performances ever seen in a heavyweight ring. And he did it again in the rematch, adding the ring title to his growing collection. Still, the biggest storm was yet to come. In May 2024, Usyk stood across from the undefeated behemoth Tyson Fury, and once again rewrote history. He didn't just win. He became the first man in the 4-belt era to unify both the cruiserweight and heavyweight divisions. A feat only matched by legends like Evander Holyfield, yet done in a style all his own, calculated cold-blooded brilliance. At 6 feet 3 inches with a 78-inch reach, Usyk isn't the most physically imposing heavyweight, but that's what makes him terrifying. Today, his net worth hovers around $60 million, and his legacy is etched among the greats. But now that he's conquered the sport's greatest mountain, becoming the undisputed king of heavyweights, one question remains. What drives a man who's already claimed it all to keep fighting? In the case of Oleksandr Usyk, it's not the belts, not the paychecks, not even the fame. It's something deeper. etched into his bones from the moment he first laced up a pair of gloves. For him, the fight has never been about reaching the top. It's always been about conquering himself. In 2006, a 19-year-old Usyk entered the European Championships with quiet ambition. Nobody expected much from him. His name didn't carry weight yet. But behind those sharp eyes and fast hands was a will that didn't bend. He bulldozed through his first 3 opponents with eerie calm, fighting with the kind of control most veterans spend a decade chasing. But in the semifinals, he met Russia's Matvey Korobov, a top prospect, and lost. To most fighters, that would have been a proud showing. But not to Usyk. That loss lit a fuse. Instead of sulking, he adapted. He moved up in weight, changed his style, became harder to read. By 2008, he was no longer just another contender. He was a problem. He won the prestigious Stranja Cup, and for the first time, the whispers started. Who is this guy from Ukraine with the footwork of a dancer and the chin of a warrior? His next challenge came unexpectedly. Ukraine needed a late replacement for the Olympic qualifier. Usyk stepped up, again moving up in weight, this time into unfamiliar territory. In Italy, he silenced the crowd by taking out Elchin Alizade and hometown favorite Daniel Price. The Olympic dream was suddenly real. At the 2008 Beijing Games, he opened with a blistering 23-4 win. But the dream turned bitter in the quarterfinals, where he lost to Italy's Clementi Russo in a close 7-4 bout, a decision many questioned. The medal he'd come for slipped through his fingers. But again, he didn't break. He dropped back down to light heavyweight, claiming gold at the European Championships later that year. But something had changed. He was no longer chasing medals. He was chasing something more, a reckoning. And it could only be found among the biggest and strongest. That meant one thing, heavyweight. By 2011, the world had caught on. Usyk wasn't just talented, he was terrifying. At the World Amateur Championships, he steamrolled through the field, defeating names that would later become stars themselves, like Artur Beterbiev and Timur Mammadov. When his hand was raised, it was more than a title. It was validation. They told me I wouldn't become a world champion, Usyk said. But those were just opinions from people who couldn't do it themselves. With Olympic qualification secured, he entered the 2012 London Games not as a hopeful, but as a storm. He dismantled Beterbiev again, dominated Tervel Pulov, and earned a spot in the final. And there, under the blinding lights, was Clementi Russo, the man who had stolen his Olympic dreams 4 years earlier. Usyk didn't flinch. He delivered a masterclass, neutralizing Russo and winning 6-3. As the gold medal hung around his neck and the Ukrainian anthem played, it wasn't just redemption, it was destiny fulfilled. His amateur record? 335 wins, just 15 losses. A legend, carved in leather and sweat. And yet, he wasn't done. Before turning pro, he gave fans a taste of what was coming, winning 6 straight fights in the World Series of Boxing. He was no longer a prospect. He was a weapon, waiting to be unleashed. When he turned professional in 2013 at 26, an age many consider late, he made it clear he wasn't here for warm-up acts. No cherry-picked opponents, no slow builds, just war. He signed with K2 Promotions, the same team that guided the Klitschko brothers. In his debut, he took out Felipe Romero in 5 rounds. 1 month later, another veteran dropped in 4. By his 3rd fight, he was already on a Klitschko undercard, stopping Ben Safoa in 3. It was like watching a speed run through the ranks. In just his 5th fight, he claimed the WBO Intercontinental title. Within 3 years of turning pro, Usyk was the WBO's top contender. Then came September 17, 2016. He traveled to Poland to face undefeated champion Krzysztof Glowacki in his backyard. For 12 rounds, Usyk painted a masterpiece with fists. He danced, jabbed, cut, and dismantled Glowacki in front of his own fans. There was a new king in the cruiserweight division, but he didn't want to be a champion. He wanted to be the champion. He defended his title against Thabiso Mchinu in America, silencing early boos with a late-round beatdown. Then came Michael Hunter, who started strong but couldn't hold off Usyk's tidal wave of pressure. Another win, another warning. Then came the tournament that would define him, the World Boxing Super Series. 8 of the best cruiserweights. 1 winner. For belts. Usyk, the top seed, picked Marco Huck, an old champion with a sharp tongue. At the final press conference, Huck shoved him. Usyk just smiled. In the ring, he turned that shove into a 10-round beating. In the semifinals, he met Mary's Breedis, undefeated, ruthless, and fighting in his home country of Latvia. For 12 rounds, they traded fire. Usyk bled, but he didn't blink. He edged the decision. And then there was one man left, Murat Gassiev. The final in Moscow was Usyk's crowning. In enemy territory, against a powerhouse with the WBA and IBF belts, he put on a boxing clinic. He didn't just win, he dominated. One judge gave him every round. The others came close. He became the first cruiserweight in history to unify all 4 belts in the 4-belt era. Muhammad Ali's widow handed him the trophy named after her husband. It wasn't just symbolic. Usyk shares a birthday with Ali. Still, there was one last challenge in the division, Tony Bellew, a loudmouth brawler who'd come down from heavyweight to take Usyk's crown. For a few rounds, Bellew had success. Then Usyk found his rhythm and ended the fight with a brutal knockout. Bellew never fought again. Usyk had cleaned out cruiserweight. Time to climb a new mountain. But moving to heavyweight was never supposed to be easy. Injuries delayed his debut. The pandemic added more time. Finally, in October 2019, he fought Chaz Witherspoon, forcing a corner retirement after 7 dominant rounds. Then came Derek Chisora in 2020, a brawler with a 38-pound weight advantage. Usyk weathered the storm early, then took over late. Unanimous decision. Then came his shot. September 25, 2021. London. Anthony Joshua, unified champion. A giant. Usyk walked into Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and turned it into his stage. He danced around Joshua's power, peppered him with shots, and closed strong, nearly stopping him in the 12th. When the bell rang, the crowd knew. Usyk had just shocked the world. Again, but destiny had one more twist. In 2022, war came to Ukraine. He returned home, joining a territorial defense battalion. Guns replaced gloves. Freedom over fame. It was only after the Klitschko brothers urged him that he left to honor the rematch contract with Joshua. In Saudi Arabia, under immense pressure, Usyk faced a desperate Joshua. The Brit fought better, hit harder, but in round 10, Usyk exploded, unleashing a flurry that turned the tide. He won a split decision and retained his titles. 1 belt remained, Tyson Fury's WBC title. Before that fight, he defended against Daniel Dubois, a controversial bout where a borderline body shot nearly ended the fight, but was ruled low. Usyk recovered and stopped Dubois. Critics debated, but he marched forward. May 18, 2024, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the fight of the decade. Usyk versus Fury for Undisputed, 12 rounds of brilliance. Usyk absorbed Fury's jab, snuck in body shots, and in the 9th round, hurt him bad. A knockdown sealed the deal. Split decision win, undisputed heavyweight champion. The rematch followed on June 25, 2025. This time, there was no doubt. Usyk dominated Fury, winning a wide unanimous decision and cementing his place in boxing history. Undisputed at cruiserweight, undisputed at heavyweight, undefeated, unmatched. So now what's left? He's climbed every mountain, silenced every critic, and humbled every challenger. From cruiserweight dominance to heavyweight immortality, Oleksandr Usyk has done what most fighters only dream of, twice. But still, the fire burns. There's talk swirling in the shadows. A Joshua trilogy, a Dubois rematch, maybe even a clash with one of the sport's rising giants. And then there's the word no fighter wants to say, but every great must one day face: retirement. But maybe the real question isn't who he'll fight next. Maybe it's how he'll be remembered. Will Oleksandr Usyk go down as merely the best of his era? Or will history carve his name alongside the legends? Ali, Holyfield, Lewis, as one of the greatest to ever lace up a pair of gloves? That's a legacy still unfolding. But to truly understand it, we have to look beyond the belts, beyond the bright lights, beyond the bruises. Because for all the wars he's fought in the ring and the storms he's weathered outside of it, there's another battlefield, quieter, softer, and infinitely more personal. It's the life he returns to when the arena grows silent. A world of tiny footsteps padding through hallways, of bedtime stories, and the familiar hum of home. It's here, far from the chaos, that the real Oleksandr Usyk reveals himself. Not the champion, but the man. He met Yekaterina long before the world knew his name. In 2009, they married. Two people bound not by fame or fortune, but by faith, loyalty, and love. For over 15 years, she's been more than just a partner. She's been his anchor. The one who stood by him in every storm. While he chased greatness, she built the life that kept him grounded. Today, she runs the Usyk Foundation, quietly waging her own war to help Ukraine through the toughest of times. Together, they've built a family, a world of 4 children. And it's their laughter, their presence, that fuels Usyk's fire more than any title ever could. When the training grinds him down, when the pressure mounts, it's their faces he fights for. Not to make history, but to make memories. But behind the closed doors of family life, there's another side to Usyk few ever get to see. The side that's tasted success and isn't afraid to live it. The mansions, the cars, the quiet luxuries he rarely flaunts but has earned in full. Next, we step into the world Oleksandr Usyk has built for himself. Welcome to the lifestyle of a champion. His $4.1 million home in Vorzel, Ukraine, is less of a mansion and more of a sanctuary. Modern in design, filled with light and warmth, it's not about showing off, it's about slowing down. It's where he returns to his wife and 4 kids, where laughter echoes louder than any crowd in an arena. It's also the home that was violated during the war. Russian soldiers ransacked it while he was away, but he rebuilt like he always does. Because to him, home isn't just a place, it's something worth fighting for. His garage tells another part of the story. There's the Mercedes-Benz G-Wagon, rugged, powerful, and capable of handling both snowy Ukrainian winters and urban streets with ease. There's also the BMW X7, a full-sized SUV that balances luxury with practicality, offering comfort for long family drives and the performance he's used to in the ring. And for speed, the Mercedes-AMG GT, a machine that roars with the same intensity Usyk brings to fight night. He doesn't post about them, doesn't need to. These aren't symbols of status. They're tools, built for movement, built for precision, built for someone who understands power and control better than most. But his lifestyle goes beyond possessions. It's also about purpose. In 2023, he co-founded Ready to Fight, a blockchain-powered platform designed to reshape boxing. It's more than a startup. It's a vision, a digital hub connecting fighters, trainers, doctors, and fans to make the sport more fair, transparent, and accessible. He's also an angel investor, backing startups with Ukrainian roots, supporting legal tech, mental health platforms, and a generation of young innovators trying to break through. Endorsements with brands like Adidas and Head & Shoulders show his global appeal. But Usyk doesn't chase fame. He redirects it. Every spotlight he steps into becomes a way to raise funds for Ukraine, to support relief efforts, to amplify hope. This is the paradox of Usyk, the warrior who owns a fortress, yet lives simply. The millionaire who invests like a mogul, but lives like a monk. The champion who keeps giving, even when he's already given so much. And yet, the biggest question remains. What comes next? In 2023, he signed with FC Policia Zhytomyr, a professional football club, not as a gimmick, not for headlines, but because he loves the game. Because reinvention isn't a phase for Usyk, it's who he is. So will he step away from boxing to pursue business? Philanthropy? Football? Time will tell. But one thing's for sure, the gloves may come off, but the fight, in one form or another, will always go on. Before you go, don't miss out on exclusive perks. Click the link in the description to become a channel member and enjoy awesome benefits, like suggesting future video topics, getting early access to new content 48 hours before anyone else, and much more. Your support means the world, and helps us keep bringing you the stories you love. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more amazing content. And while you're here, why not check out our deep dive into Dmitry Bivol's video? Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.